here and Facebook.
So if one of us blows off with an expletive, you can stop it, right?
I guess. So we're live. You're showing up on Facebook now?
Yeah, I have you.
Awesome.
Click on it.
So blessings to everyone who is watching. This is our test run for next week when we discuss next week's topics of the Great Commission and the Ascension of Messiah and their place in the Omer. So I've been spending a little bit of time. I kind of put together a little bit of a structure that I sent you guys. I'll go ahead and introduce everyone here in case no one's familiar. To my, well, I guess, left on this screen here is going to be far left Jerry from Give God 90.
The right to the viewer.
Okay, the right to the viewer. Okay.
Like he's on the right.
So on the far right is Jerry, who's here, just finishing up actually your Give God 90, which I caught tonight.
Good. You got to hear my abortion rant.
I did. Yep. Actually, I shared the video with a little challenge to our local congregations.
I saw that. Thank you.
I saw that's what you were doing, and you were getting close to done. So I'll maybe take a look at it later, because it's especially when people. Oh, Don is showing me that we're live. Especially when people are so caught up with the numbers for COVID, and we look at the daily numbers for abortion and all the other things that's around it.
Yep. That's not going to be a pleasant conversation either.
No. No. All right, and then in the center is Rob. Also, joining us actually from Clascanite, Oregon, where it's still light over there, isn't it? Yep. You guys probably haven't even sat down for dinner.
Not quite. Nope. I just got off work a little while ago, and we went for a walk. And so, yeah.
Cool.
And then for anyone tuning in through Jerry or Rob's pages, my name's Wesley. I'm actually hosting this thing right here from Endwell, New York. So just some of you guys' thoughts on what we're going to be discussing next week. You guys dive into anything that's making you kind of think, or you're excited to kind of share with everyone who's going to be joining us?
You know, I haven't really given a lot of thought in the past to some of the things I've looked at this last couple of weeks since you brought this up. But it kind of amazes me not only what's there, but what's missing. And sometimes the what's missing gives you more questions than the what's there. So I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah, I think so. You know that all of us have at one time or another spent time in what we probably call the church, and came up with a certain perspective on things. And then when we kind of moved away and started thinking a little differently and exploring things for ourselves, we still kind of sort of bought a little bit of, I mean, we were exploring, but we still bought some of the conventional stuff that was there. And so when you think about things like, everybody in Hebraic circles knows that the second coming is going to happen on Rosh Hashanah, right? But then it just starts to make you sit there and think when you look at the idea of the fall feast being fulfilled, and I'm just using air quotes because that's something that a lot of people use. It begs a lot of different questions, like, okay, so why do we have a 50-day count between first fruits and Shavuot? And then you recognize, well, 50, that's a Jubilee number. Why in that count did Messiah ascend on the 40th day. On the 40th day, with 10 days left until Shavuot. Then you start to ask the questions when Yeshua was getting ready to leave, and he leaves them, and the angels, the men, whoever were there to tell them, why are you looking up there? He'll return in the way that he came, and so then you start to think, wow, what if that is a marker? And again, you can run wild, but it's good to at least think and consider it, and maybe not get so locked into an ironclad, this is the way it is, because this is what we've always been taught. And in doing so, making the same mistake that we accuse so many others of, which is, we've always been taught this. How can all these people be wrong? Well, test everything, think it through, and really, 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 really study. Do all you can to rightly divide the word. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, I know for me, I was kind of looking over some of the questions there. I've hardly scratched the surface, and I'm trying really hard not to go down too many tangents on this, as I spent a lot of today just on the section of Mark, where we were of the Great Commission there, and the whole, well, does Mark end at verse 8, or does 9 through actually originally exist in the manuscripts? Is it more or less just as one author, J.B. Phillips, in his paraphrase writes, the appendix of Mark, or as the Common English Bible has their endings added later? Or is it just, part of the whole thing? What is this something that Yeshua is speaking to his disciples? Is it something that, is just, oh, well, this is what has happened, and this is what we know about what he has given, the power he gave to them when he breathed the Holy Spirit, when the Holy Spirit was commissioned to them, that they were able to do because of the power of God. And so trying not to go run wild with that whole idea, but I know we are going to be focusing on this section as well as the other 4 Gospels and Acts section when we deal with the Great Commission, how really looking at, and I'm kind of curious on your guys' take when we get there, the places of where this falls and why 40 days before Pentecost, which Rob already brought up here. And then I haven't even touched a few other things. But gentlemen, looks like we have a success, and I look forward to this great conversation we're going to have next week. So to anyone who is watching out there, thanks for hopping on, and we look forward to seeing you next week. You guys have anything to say before we log off?
Looking forward to it. It should be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I hope that there are some people who will be watching and feeling free to throw some questions in there and be participants, because that's it's one thing to have people sit and listen, but you really want them to participate, because when they do, when they're mulling things enough to ask questions, then it's a real learning experience.
That's where a lot of my topics come from, is when I'll mention something and people will message me privately later. And when I get enough of those messages, it's like, maybe I need to actually dive into this subject and find out what's going on. So
Right.
There's questions out there that people want the answers to.
Right.
All right.
Well, thanks for setting this up.
Yeah.
Yes, this is going to be interesting. And it's amazing that what used to happen in my living room and in your living room, Rob, is now happening across the country.
It is. I remember the first few times when we met sitting at BLC and trying to figure out how to say some of the words in Hebrew, and not thinking that we'd be really able to have a reach that was from sea to shining sea, if you will.
Pretty much. Yeah, because West, I don't know. Did you tell everybody where everybody's kind of from?
Yeah, tell them the ministries that they are too.
Yeah. I think I briefly mentioned it. You got Jerry, you're down there in Lewis, Delaware. We've actually all met and taught in that living room that you're sitting in there as part of Messianic Delaware.
Yep.
You still do Messianic Delaware from there after COVID,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then you've been really pouring out at least 2 podcasts a week with Give God 90.
Mm-hmm.
There, I got the app right on my phone. So anybody who doesn't have it, you can go to the Google Play Store. You can download the app right to your phone. And
I'm sure it's on, is it on Apple?
I'm sure it's also on Apple, I'm sure. Right.
I don't know of a podcast platform I'm not on right now.
All right. So all
That's right. I've seen it on Spotify.
podcast platforms, including Spotify, which is a great one there.
Yep. Spotify, Apple, Google, SoundCloud.
Spreaker.
I don't know how many more. But that's the good thing about using the Spreaker platform is they will connect to all of those. And it's just a really good way to reach out. There's a lot of people, and I get messages literally from around the world because of that. Not everybody can get Facebook. Not everybody has access to different things. I got a message from Apple or an email from Apple the other day saying they had just expanded into like 20 more countries. And there was a couple of countries there that I've already been in. So
Yeah.
that kind of made me feel good when I beat Apple going somewhere.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that. I listen to your podcast to and from work, and I love because when they're on my phone using the app, when I shut it off when I get to work, because it's only about a 15-minute drive from here to Binghamton, then I can pick it up later on my way back, and it picks me right up in the same spot. Never have to go fast forward anywhere or anything, like if it was a Facebook live video or anything. So that's been pretty good. I've been able to catch, and I'm still trying to catch back up because for a while we were missing them because we we'd forget about them. And then all of a sudden it was like, hey, so I downloaded the app, and I'm like, there's an app for that?
There's an app for everything. That's the new line from Fiddler on the Roof. There's a blessing for everything. There's an app for everything.
There's an app for your blessing.
Yes. Absolutely.
And then Rob here, my father-in-law out in Oregon there in Clatskanie, Oregon. Him and I actually started Hope Family Fellowship in his living room and mine. Was it going on through 3.5 years now ago it was?
Oh, I think so. I mean, and what we did prior to that predates that by a number of years too. But yeah, I think you're right. I think when we brought it back and it became Hope Family Fellowship, it probably has been about 3 and change thereabouts. I'm not sure.
That would have been fall of the first year Haley and I were married. So
it'll be coming up on 3 years then.
Yeah, coming up on 3 years there.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, now you're out in Clatskanie, Oregon, still faithfully every Saturday morning on Shabbat, giving people the hey, here's kind of what is on my mind, dealing with the Torah portions on occasion as well.
Yeah. Mostly just the Torah portion for certain, but also just a lot of reading, a lot of prayer, and it just whatever it feels like the God's put on my heart. And I actually switched from doing it on the HFF site, and I'm doing it from my Facebook. And so I'm getting a real variety of people who are checking in from time to time, people who are related to me, people who have been students in the past, old colleagues. And so lots of different people from lots of different walks. I think I don't have many more than maybe about. I think the most I've had is about between 80 and 100 views in some, and usually it's about 30, 40 views or so. But there's always somebody out there who is looking. I know that one of Donna's cousins commented a couple weeks ago, said, "Hey, thank you so much. I was listening to you while I was shopping." And so I'm thinking, oh, this is good. Probably had headphones in, but if not, maybe some peripheral damage done as well. But it's just a matter of doing what I think God is calling us to do. And if it's I always will say the same thing, which is don't take my word for it. Question, ask, but also just really trying to get people to ask those questions and to think and to just to really articulate what they believe and maybe even hold it up to scrutiny.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. I know when Haley and I moved out to Washington, I kind of developed Roots of Faith kind of as an idea of trying to keep on teaching when I'm in a new area with nowhere that I really knew, and it started out, trying to, within mainstream evangelical Christianity, trying to kind of help us understand where our Hebraic roots are, thus the name Roots of Faith. But in this past year, we've kind of changed it and looked kind of more towards the areas of the church fathers and how Christianity has kind of developed within the within another post-exilic where the temple fell in 70 AD, and then we're trying to figure out how to really make this Yeshua Jesus movement kind of really kind of into it, and how we kind of branched off into different ways. So that's kind of really been the focus of 2020, going into some of the popular myths that kind of get circulated around about Christian roots, and even what different churches, denominations believe about X, Y, and Z there. So that's kind of been really the direction to try and help other people kind of look to some of the things that we have kind of lost over the centuries that were established as teaching moments and have just been kind of forgotten, especially within the more liturgical areas of churches.
Well, and we've never had a better time to reach people, but also a better time to do what people are always saying they want to do. If I only had time to. Well, most of us are at home right now. You've got plenty of time. Put your money where your mouth is. Pick up a Bible. Spend some time in prayer, and really just dig in. And don't take someone's word for it. Find out for yourself. And that's one thing that I've been trying to pound into people week after week is you've got the time, use it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Some of us have less time than others because we're essential.
Yeah.
Everybody's essential. Some are just more essential than others, right?
Yeah, I know for me, HFF has got a bit of way to try to help separate Shabbat for me on my way home from work that night, because I'm stuck working on Shabbat right now with my job. So no rest for the managers there.
Right. When you're in management, you never rest because somebody's always got a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think I said this on any of my podcasts or anything else yet, but I was asking somebody the other day, I said, could you imagine if the disciples 2,000 years ago would have had the technology we have today? We'd all be speaking Hebrew right now, right?
Yeah, but consider too that then there would have also been the opportunity for a lot of false instruction to get around as well. Unfortunately,
absolutely.
As Abraham Lincoln said, you can't trust everything on the internet.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. So if this is what we do with a promo video, I don't know what damage we're going to do next week, and I think it's slated out as 2 hours, which was just the default setting for Facebook there.
Right.
But
Hey, you never know what comes up.
yeah. So, gentlemen, you guys have a wonderful night. Rob, it's not night yet for you, but for Jerry and I don't know if you've already put the Omer up, but
Not
It's
yet.
getting close, but yeah.
Yeah.
I am. It's been a long day here. Been a long day. When I get ready for that's why next Thursday for the my show for Give God 90, I want to pick an easier subject. Something that doesn't get me wound up like this.
Oh yeah, I was wondering if you took your chill pill at the end there.
Not yet, but we're working on it.
That's the subject where, talking even with good, thoughtful people who will, oh no, I don't believe in abortion. I'm pro-life, except in the case where, and fill in the blank. And so with gritting my teeth, I'm just, oh, so you're pro-choice. No, I'm not pro-choice. Really? Yeah.
And that was where I had trouble tonight coming up with explaining, the one time it's not, I don't want to use the word acceptable, but understandable is when that minor child is forced to do that by her parents. And it doesn't make it right, but it makes it.
Well, then
I get it.
Then the responsibility, I think, falls to the parents.
Yes.
And that's something you always see this depicted, and I imagine it's true, and that is where the parent puts the pressure on the minor child or even the young adult child to say, you're not ready for a kid. It's like, are you kidding me? That's my grandchild.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. But I know I won't have to worry about that. So
Well, having lived through it,
right.
they're worthwhile.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. And on that note, gentlemen, I bid you guys a farewell and a good night.
All right. Later days.
Take care.
I don't know how to close this out. Oh, there it is.